Hello everybody and welcome to the Plastic General. As you can see, we're in our new studio and I'm really happy with it. Today is a very special show and I'm going to be covering something that you did not know about. It's a 132 scale battleship made by Remco. We're also going to look into one of the rarest World War II toy soldier sets ever made, and it's the Marx 132 scale US Navy sailors. On top of that, we're going to cover 21st century toys, Long Tom Cannon and its crew, and how to make them into a naval cannon and a naval crew. Sound exciting? Let's get into it. Fire! You know, I cover so many things on this show regarding World War II and 132 scale, but one of my absolute favorite subjects to collect is naval 132. I mean, there's hardly any of it out there, so you thought, but I've actually discovered so much 132 scale World War II naval stuff, it'll blow your mind. I cannot wait to show you the Fighting Lady Battleship. But first, let's get into the rarest World War II set ever made. The first set we're going to cover was released by Marx back in the mid-60s, and it was included in a military academy set. And they came out with 7 US Navy sailors, 7 poses, and the crazy thing is they were never reissued ever again, ever. So they're very, very rare. They pop up on eBay once in a while, and it's not uncommon to see them selling for about $100 each. So let's get into these guys. The first figure is a sailor on guard, walking with his marching or on guard with his rifle. You know, I was so lucky even to score this figure. The tip of his rifle is snipped off or broken off, probably over the edges. And I did paint my figures because I have no intention of ever selling them. They're very extremely, extremely rare and tough bananas. They're not for sale. Pose number 2 is a sailor obviously boarding the ship with his duffel bag. In the Navy. Pose number 3. Sailor mopping the deck with no shirt on and no shoes. Pose number 4. Obviously, it's a like a military police for the Navy. He's carrying his nightstick, and he's doing a sort of like a guard patrol. Pose number 5. This guy would be on the bridge, I imagine. He's using some sort of a telescopic or signaling device. And there's a little power box down here and a wire running up to him. It's kind of a cool figure. So we're starting to get into action territory now. This figure is another military police, I think, for the Navy. He has his pistol pulled out of its holster, and he's adjusting his helmet, and he's readying himself for combat. Also wearing a life jacket. Finally, with the 7th and final pose is a sailor running with a Thompson machine gun with his Navy helmet on. And it looks like the alarm is going off in the ship and he's running to some sort of station or something. I mean, everybody wishes that they would have came out with more poses for these guys and more action poses, firing guns or firing boofers, cannons or boofers, anything. But they didn't. These were made back in the 60s and you got what you got. So there we go. That's the complete set of Marx 132 World War II US Navy sailors. Very rare. If you can score them, get them. If you can steal them, anything, because we're never going to see them again anytime soon. Or maybe if someone has those molds out there, this is a hint. Come on, let's print these back up again. Okay, are you ready for the star of the show? This is my favorite conversion I've ever done in my life. This is the Remco Fighting Lady Battleship. It was made in the mid-60s. Let me say right away, this toy was made for little 10-year-old boys. It was a very, very silly ship. It had a lot of elements about it that were utterly ridiculous. Like in the front here, there was a massive, oversized gun turret. In the back, there was an airplane launcher. All kinds of ridiculous components that, for people like us, we don't want these things. So I saw this as a great opportunity to strip it of everything that was not realistic and replace it with components that were realistic and to proper scale. A warning, if you want to buy the Fighting Lady Battleship by Remco, you in mint condition, you might be looking at $1,000. So you don't want that. I recommend that you get an old junker like I bought for a couple $100 and then redo it. So, do you want to get a nice close look at this battleship? And I'll show you what I did. Okay, just for reference, here's a photograph of the Fighting Lady Battleship in its proper form with its box. You can see what I'm talking about with the oversized guns and the silly elements. So the first thing I did was I removed that hideous turret. And what I did is I replaced it with a homemade naval gun by just cutting a piece of plastic in half to create a shield. I had an extra gun barrel and I created the breech on the back, and it just fits in like this. And you can see this is a base of an old 88. And I put that on there. And then I made a couple conversion figures where I have a commander with a life jacket and a guy with a piece of ammo. Fire! Let's make our way up here to the bridge. I made a conversion of a figure. And by the way, I make these figures from, you can make them from a multi-pose by Airfix by just piecing the stuff together. And then we have a commander here with binoculars. And we have that guy with that sort of like signaling scope. We'll put him in there too. So the bridge is nicely manned. Now, let's make our way down here. There was this really bad gun turret thing here that was down here, so I built this up. Very thin piece of polystyrene. I glued a chair on there. And then I had some spare 50 calibers from, let's say, 21st Century Toys. And so this thing can pivot. I made a sitting figure, and he's sitting in there, firing his 50 caliber. Now let's get up here to the deck. So Italeri came out with a set so that you can supply your torpedo boats that they make with some extra components. And so I bought a couple of those model kits, gave me some extras, so gave me an anti-aircraft Boofers machine gun, a two-man machine gun. And here's an ammo guy filling up supplying the gun with the ammo that's needed. And here at the back, I got rid of that ridiculous, insane airplane launcher, and instead I created it into a depth charger launcher. So the sailor that I custom made, he'll be operating the depth charger thing, and then we have some sort of officer sort of watching the depth chargers go off. And then here along the side, I cut out some doors with polystyrene. I glued them to the side just to reestablish the scale. And then there you have it. It's just like a little cruiser with some nice anti-aircraft and some nice naval guns on there. I love this ship. I highly recommend it. It's like a floating play set. You cannot say no to the Fighting Lady Battleship. $200 will get you to the Pacific. Get it on eBay if you can score it. Oh, and there's one more bonus. Sometimes when you are lucky enough to buy the Fighting Lady Battleship, there are a few figures that come with the battleship, but only one of them is a true sailor. And this is a signal figure doing the semaphore flag signals. And he's tough to find, but if you can find him, get him and paint him up. And he's a great addition to your Navy figures. So the next thing that we're going to take a close look at, 21st Century Toys came out with the Long Tom US howitzer. It's a great toy cannon, a long range cannon, and it comes with a 5-man crew of the gunner, a couple guys with ammunition, and this guy, he's holding the explosive cartridge, and a commander. And they're really cheap on eBay, and there's tons of them, but obviously I kept one in this condition, but I found a really good use for them. These figures could very easily be turned into naval figures, and that's exactly what I did. I also turned the cannon, the Long Tom, into a naval cannon, and this is what I did. Here we go. The Long Tom reborn as a naval gun emplacement, like a shoreline gun emplacement. Or if I built a battleship one day, it would be a battleship gun. I'd have to build a housing for it. But there's the deck platform of the gun, with little stairs leading up. I just built this out of polystyrene sheets, just glued it together with normal model kit glue, and spray painted it kind of like a naval battleship gray. And the figures, here's how I did it. This was the original figure that came with the Long Tom, and I turned him into this. And so he will be here loading a cartridge with the breech open. Then this guy loading a shell. This guy would be more used for an anti-aircraft gun. So I just glued a different type of artillery in his hands. And so we'll just have him here. And then finally, I took one of the guys loading a shell and the other guy loading a shell, and I just gave him a naval paint job, and there we have it. Now it's become a coastal defense. So are you ready to see the Fighting Lady Battleship in action? Yeah? So there we go. That's the first of many battleships I'm going to be covering in the near future. We have a Japanese destroyer coming. I got a whole bunch of things to talk about. Oh, look at this, what I found inside the hull of the ship. These are authentic reproduction dog tags, and they're made by a friend of mine from mydogtag.com. And he makes authentic dog tags from World War II, naval dog tags, and the Vietnam War. If you mention mydogtag.com, then you might get 15% off. And before we go, I just want to remind you that if you love this show, please hit the subscribe button. And then if you want to be notified about every future show that comes up, hit the bell and then hit the like. And also, I want to hear your comments, your criticisms. I don't care. If I get something wrong, give me hell. I don't care. It's all good for the show and it's exciting. Let's get some dialogue going. My name is Christian Aldo. I'm the Plastic General, and we'll see you next time.